Today we're going to be talking about Leviticus chapter 18. And we're just going to do a little recap though. Via chapters 1 through 7, Yah taught us his sacrificial system, which essentially teaches us how to remain holy before him. In chapters 8 through 10, Yah established his priesthood, which were to be responsible for the affairs of the aforementioned sacrifices, as well as consecrating the nation as a whole unto Yah. In chapters 11 and 12, Yah begins to deal with clean and unclean foods, and clean and unclean overall. In chapter 11, he dealt with the foods, and in chapter 12, he dealt with womanly issues. Now, in chapters 13 through 15, Yah dealt with the effects of becoming unholy and or unclean, either through neglecting to offer the appropriate sacrifices or via intentional sin. There's stuff that happens when you remain unclean before Yah. And so he spoke to that in chapter 16. Yah taught the high priest how he was to keep himself as well as the nation, the nation's sins covered via atonement. And beginning with chapter 17, Yah begins teaching us concerning social activities within the kingdom and how to do what we do. For sometimes we can be doing the right things, but doing them in the wrong way. Right. And that's an important concept, because sometimes we can, have all the right intentions, but just be doing things in the wrong way. We serve an El of specificity. He wants things done his way. That's right. In particular, it's not good enough per se that you do them in and of themselves, but he wants them done in the way that he prescribed. Now, hence, Yah teaches what he wants us to do, as well as what we're not to do. And chapter 17 spoke to sacrifices and, and the animals and what we were to do and weren't to do, even to the point of saying that anyone who slew an animal and didn't bring it before his altar was guilty of the blood of that animal. Even as they had slew a man. That was pretty profound. And here in chapter 18, Yah deals with fornication, that is illicit sexual relations. And so that's what we're going to get into today. So that was just a little recap up to this point. And so we'll jump right in, chapter 18. Leviticus 18 verses 1 and 2, and it reads, "And Yahuwah spake unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, I am Yahuwah, your Elohim." Now, I want to take the time out to speak to the Yah being our Elohim. For he don't say that very often in this chapter. Up to this point, he hasn't. Only time that he said it prior to Leviticus 18 is actually in Leviticus 11, 44 and 45, where he says, "For I am Yahuwah your Elohim. Ye shall therefore sanctify yourselves, and ye shall be holy, for I am holy. Neither shall ye defile yourselves with any manner of creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. For I am Yahuwah that bringeth you up out of the land of Egypt, to be your Elohim. Ye shall therefore be holy, for I am holy." So now I know a lot of people, oftentimes identify Elohim with Yahuwah. And so he is, but it's also important to realize that Yahuwah is a name and Elohim is a title. Yes. And saying that it describes something. What is it describing? And that's what I kind of want to touch on today. You know, for when Yahuwah says that he's our Elohim, what is he in fact saying? Well, when we look up the term God, in the Hebrew we find that it is Elohim. It's number 430 in the Strong's, and essentially it means gods. It's a plural term. And it's applied by way of deference. And by deference, we mean humble submission and respect towards magistrates. And a magistrate is a judge who administers the law. It's also spoken of rulers, again, judges, divine ones, angels, gods, and again, gods, judges, angels. You know, this is Strong's, and this is Brown's, Drivers, and Briggs, and this is Ohio's. You know, but the point that I want to make is within any of these definitions, it's clear to see that none of them says mighty, which is something that's always pertained to Elohim. And that's because, you know, that understanding of Elohim is implied within the text. You know, but essentially it speaks to a judge. It speaks to having deference, that is humble submission and respect towards a judge who administers the law. So, in other words, in chapter 18, verse 2, Yah is saying, speak unto the children of Israel and say unto them, I am Yahuwah your judge. Everybody still with me? Yeah. All right. We're going to take a look at how Elohim is used in a few other places in scriptures just to show its full meaning. In Genesis 23, verses 2 through 6, we read about Sarah who passes away, and Abraham is trying to bury his deceased wife. And it reads, and Sarah died in Kiriath-Arba, the same as Hebron in the land of Canaan. And Abraham came to mourn for Sarah and to weep for her. And Abraham stood up from before his dead and spake unto the sons of Heth, saying, I am a stranger and a sojourner with you. Give me a possession of a burying place with you, that I may bury my dead out of my sight. In other words, he didn't want to bury his dead, you know, right there with him. You know, he wanted to bury his dead away from the land that was his and that he dwelt on. And the children of Heth answered Abraham, saying unto him, hear us, my Adonai. That's what's usually translated as Lord in the King James. Hear us, my Adonai, thou art a mighty prince exalted among us in the choice of our sepulchres. Bury thy dead, none of us shall withhold from thee his sepulchre, but that thou mayest bury thy dead. Now, this word mighty that the King James translated mighty prince is actually Elohim. Number 430. So in our actuality, it's saying, hear us, my Adonai, thou art a God, if you would. And this word prince actually means exalted, an exalted one. So they're saying, hear us, my Adonai, thou art a God, an exalted one among us. Or, to put it more plainly, they're saying, thou art a judge that's been exalted among us, and in the choice or in the best of our sepulchres, bury thy dead. None of us shall withhold from thee his sepulchre, but that thou mayest bury thy dead. You know, so they're saying, you know, you're a judge. You're an exalted judge. You're a great man that's in our midst. You know, it's kind of like, you know, I don't know what Canada has, a prime minister or president or whatever they have that leads the country. But it's kind of like him coming over here and saying, you know, hey, BYA, I want to use your facilities, to worship next week, or the Queen of England coming over and saying, hey, I want to, I want you to lend me something or what have you. In other words, they're saying, it's an honor to be able to help. No, we're not going to charge you, but of course, Abraham insisted on paying, the wise man that he was. But the point being, they considered him an Elohim. They considered him a judge, a prince among them. They wasn't worshiping him as a god. They were recognizing him as a judge, someone that was exalted within their midst. I'm going to take another look at a couple of passages in which Elohim is used. Let me have my next reader read Exodus 21 verses 2 through 6, and then Exodus 22, 7 through 9, please.
If thou buy a Hebrew servant, 6 years he shall serve, and in the 7th he shall go out free for nothing. If he came in by himself, he shall go out by himself. If he were married, then his wife shall go out with him. If his master have given him a wife, and she bore him sons or daughters, the wife and her children shall be her master's, and he shall go out by himself. And if the servant shall plainly say, I love my master, my wife, and my children, I will not go out free, then his master shall bring him unto the judges. He shall also bring him to the door, or unto the doorpost, and his master shall bore his ear through within all, and he shall serve him forever. In Exodus 22:7. If a man shall deliver unto his neighbor money or stuff to keep, and it be stolen out of the man's house, if the thief be found, let him pay double. If the thief be not found, then the master of the house shall be brought unto the judges, to see whether they have put his hand unto his neighbor's good. For all matters of trespass, whether it be an ox or ass, or sheep for raiment, or for any manner of lost thing, which another challenges to be his, the cause of both parties shall come before the judges, and whom the judges shall condemn, he shall pay double unto his neighbor.
Okay, here it is in Exodus chapter 21 and 22. We have a couple of judgments here. We see in Exodus 21, verses 2 through 6, dealing with Hebrew servant, after he served and now, he has an opportunity to go out, but, if he doesn't want to go out, hence verse 5 says, and if the servant shall plainly say, I love my master, my wife, and my children, I will not go out free, then his master shall bring him unto the judges. Now, this word judges is actually Elohim. So again, we see that Elohim speaks to the judges or magistrates of the land. Then his master shall bring him unto the Elohim or the judges. He shall also bring him unto the door or unto the doorpost, and his master shall bore his ear through with and all, and he shall serve him forever. And also in chapter 22, verses 7 through 9, speaking of if a man shall deliver unto his neighbor money or stuff to keep, and it be stolen out of the man's house, and if the thief be found, let him pay double. If the thief be not found, then the master of the house shall be brought unto the Elohim. Again, translated judges here, to see whether he hath put his hand unto his neighbor's goods. Yeah, you said someone came in and stole the money, but there's no thief to be found. All your stuff's still there. Yeah, we're going to have to go to the Elohim on this. We're going to have to go to the judges. We're going to have to go to the judges. Verse 9, for all manners of trespass, whether it be for ox, for behind, for sheep, for raiment, or for any manner of lost thing, which another challengeth to be his, the cause of both parties shall come before the Elohim. the judges. And whom the Elohim, the judges, shall condemn, he shall pay double unto his name. So, hope I'm doing a good job of driving home that Elohim speaks to judges, to magistrates. Yes, it can speak to a mighty one because a judge is a mighty one. He has the authority, the power and authority to pass sentence upon those who are before him. So Yah is saying he wants to be our Elohim. He wants to be our judge. Now, I want you to know that the forefathers of this country, they understood what Elohim was. They understood that Elohim was meant to be a judge or powerful one, mighty one in the land. Hence, we see here, this is actually a picture that's upon the dome of the Capitol building. That's painted on the dome of the Capitol building. It's called the Apotheosis of Washington. And that's old George himself right there. And he's sitting amongst the heavens in an exalted manner, or in literal terms, ascending and becoming a god. That's what the term apotheosis means. The Apotheosis of Washington depicts George Washington being exalted as an Elohim, as a god. Now, Washington was first president and commander-in-chief of the Continental Army during the American Revolutionary War. And he is depicted allegorically, represented, surrounded by figures from classical mythology, that is, from classical gods. Upside down above Washington is the banner, E pluribus unum, meaning out of many, one. Now, the question is, which one is going to come out of those many? Just put it on the shelf. Yeah, if you don't get it, just put it on the shelf. Now, I showed this image last week, and this was a picture of Azazel, the goat deity. Now, it's just something kind of caught my eye, but I want you to take heed to his position, the way he's sitting, and the way his hands are. And, is it me or does it bear a great resemblance to your boy George sitting there? Is that just my imagination? George so happens to be holding the sword, but it's pointing down. And all this stuff is symbolic. And what does the scripture say the sword is symbolic of? The word of Elohim. Why is it pointing down? It seems as though it would be pointing up, if you're the victor, right? I mean, this is just, I don't know, just food for thought. I'm not saying that it's anything. It's just, it just bears quite a resemblance to, but what about the caduceus? Remember we went over the caduceus, but don't see that with George. But if you look right below George, you'll find the pagan god Mercury. And you see what he has in his hand? Yeah. The caduceus. Remember we was talking about he was the god of commerce? Yeah. Me wants me gold. He has his bag of gold right there. I'm just saying. Well, I'm not saying anything. Picture's worth 1,000 words, right? Leviticus 18:3. It says, Yah goes on. Let me go back and read verses 1 and 2 just for the continuity of it. I think I'm going to go back to verse 1 and 2. Oh, man. All right. And Yahuwah spake unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, I am Yahuwah, your Elohim. I am Yahuwah, your judge. So he's letting you know, he said, I want to be your judge. I'm your judge.
Amen.
Who your judge? Yahuwah is your judge.
Right.
All right. Verse 3. After the doings of the land of Mitzrayim or Egypt where ye dwelt, After the doings of the land of Mitzrayim or Egypt wherein ye dwelt, shall ye not do. So in other words, in the doings or in the things that of the land that you've just come from, I don't want you to do those things.
Yeah.
And after the doings of the land of Canaan, whither I bring you, shall ye not do. You're on your way to this land of Canaan. And the doings that they do in the land of Canaan, I don't want you to do them either. And what you do in this wilderness is what I tell you to do. That's what you're gonna do. And he goes on to say, neither shall ye walk in their ordinances. What does he mean? Don't do the things that they do. Neither walk in their ordinances. Well, this word ordinance is kukah, number 2708, and it means statute. What is a statute? A statute is a written law passed by a legislative body. An ordinance, an enactment. So he's saying, neither shall ye walk in their written laws that's passed by their legislative bodies. Verses 18, Leviticus 18:4. Ye shall do my judgments and keep my ordinances to walk therein. I am Yahuwah, your Elohim. I am Yahuwah, your judge. Now, I put Leviticus 18:4 from an alternate translation because actually, ye shall do is not actually in the script in this position. It actually comes afterwards. But King James put it before for whatever reason. I guess they thought it read better. But it's truly presented like this. And so again, Leviticus 18:4, my judgments shall ye do, and my statutes shall ye keep to walk therein. I am Yahuwah, your Elohim. I am Yahuwah, your judge. So, and the reason that order is important is because when we look at the Aleph Tav that's involved, we know the Aleph Tav speaks to our Messiah. He gave us the revelation that he was the Aleph and the Tav, the Alpha and Omega in the Greek, which translates to the Aleph and the Tav in the Hebrew. And for those who may not know, the Aleph and the Tav occurs almost 8,000 times in Scripture, but many times it's covered up, and many times it's translated as this or that or and or which or thus or something to that effect, and reason being because they really didn't know what to do with it. So a lot of times it's not even translated, period. But it actually speaks to, Yahshua gave us the key to understanding this when he told us he's the Alpha and Omega. He's the Aleph and the Tav. So if we recognize it for what it is, representing him, we see in Leviticus 18:4, he says, Yahshua's judgments shall ye do. Joined to Yahshua's statutes shall ye keep to walk therein. I am Yahuwah, your Elohim or your judge. Now, what does he mean by judgments? This word judgments is mishpat, number 4941, and it means properly a verdict. And this goes right along with verse 2, which Yah is saying that he is our judge. Yahuwah is saying, I am your judge. And now he goes on to tell you that you don't do after the doings of Mitzrayim or Egypt, and don't do after the doings of Canaan. Don't walk in their statutes, their written laws passed by a legislative body. He says, ye shall do my judgment, my verdicts, and keep my ordinances. That is, keep my statutes or my written laws passed by me. That's what Yah is saying. And verse 5, ye shall therefore keep, we have an olive there, Yahshua's statutes and Yahshua's judgments, which if a man do, he shall live in them. I am Yahuwah. See, now this is the way that he wants us to live in him. He wants us to live in his written laws and according to his judgments. Now, we're gonna take a look at an example of how this works. I missed something. Oh, the U.S. and many, if not most countries today have similar systems of law, which were most likely in one regard or another derived from Yah's model that we see here. What we have here is a system of law stemming from judgments, which speaks to case law, because these are verdicts. You know, they're verdicts or sentences that have been given. And statutes, which speak to written laws. So you have the written laws, and then you have the verdicts or sentences that came from concerning those written laws. And that operates as the case law, if you would. Now, we're going to take a look at how this works. In Exodus chapter 20, verses 8 through 11, we have the written law concerning the Sabbath. It says, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of Yahuwah, thy Elohim. In it thou shalt not do any work. Thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days Yahuwah made heaven and earth, and the sea and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore Yahuwah blessed the seventh day, the Sabbath day, and holiday. So, the written law, remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. In it thou shalt not do any work. Why? He didn't have to tell us why, but he was gracious enough to tell us why. Because he blessed it. Because he rested in the seventh day, and he blessed it in holiday. Okay? That's the written law, right? All right, now we're going to fast forward to a time when this written law was broken, which is found in Numbers 15, verses 32 through 36. And it says, and while the children of Israel were in the wilderness, they found a man that gathered sticks upon the Sabbath day. Wait a minute. That's against the written law. That's against the statute. What statute? Remember? The Sabbath day and keep it holy. In it thou shalt not do any work. Yeah, he's breaking that. Okay, so 15:32, and while the children of Israel were in the wilderness, they found a man that gathered sticks upon the Sabbath day, and they that had found him gathering sticks brought him unto Moshe and Aaron and unto all the congregation. And they put him inward because it was not declared what should be done to him. Well, we know we wasn't supposed to do it, but what are we supposed to do to somebody who break it? We don't know. So they took him to Moshe and Aaron. They probably went all the way up the line. Well, what did you do? I don't know. Go to who's over you? What do we do? I don't know. Go who's over you. And then all the way up to Moshe and Aaron. And they didn't know what to do, so they went to Yah. Why? Because there was no case law. There was no case law to refer to. There was no sentence passed prior to this time. So they go up to Yah, who is our Elohim. He's our judge. So they're bringing this case before the judge. Everybody with me?
Yeah.
All right. And Yahuwah said unto Moshe, the man shall be surely put to death. All the congregation shall stone him with stones without the camp. The judgment or sentence passed by the judge is that the man shall be surely put to death, and all the congregation shall stone him with stones without the camp. So the sentence depicted what should happen to the man and how it should happen. So what did they do? Verse 36, and all the congregation brought him without the camp and stoned him with stones. And he died as Yahuwah commanded Moshe. So we see an example of the written law. We see an example where there was no case law, so therefore they had to bring the matter to the highest judge, which was Yahuwah. But now, if this happens again, they have case law. They have a judgment in which they can refer to, and they don't have to go and bring the guy back before Yahuwah again. They just refer to the case law. They refer to the judgment that was already passed. This is the same way that the system of law works in this country. The very same way. They look at the written law, see what they call the statutory law, and they see if you've broken it. If it's determined that you've broken it, then they look and see, what the penalty is going to be. And the penalty that you receive is based upon the case law, based upon the prior sentences that has been handed down via the past. Wow. So, but this system was a part of Yah's system, first and foremost. May I have my next reader read Leviticus 18, 6 through 12.
None of you shall approach to any that is near the kin to him to uncover their nakedness. I am Yahuwah. The nakedness of thy father or the nakedness of thy mother thou shalt not uncover. She is thy mother, thou shalt not uncover her nakedness. The nakedness of thy father's wife shalt thou not uncover. It is thy father's nakedness. The nakedness of thy sister, the daughter of thy father, or daughter of thy mother, whether she be born at home or born abroad, even their nakedness thou shalt not uncover. The nakedness of thy son's daughter, or of thy daughter's daughter, even their nakedness thou shalt not uncover, for theirs is thine own nakedness. The nakedness of thy father's wife's daughter, begotten by thy father, she is thy sister, thou shalt not uncover her nakedness. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy father's sister, she is thy father's, their kinswoman.
Okay. So we see none of you shall approach to any that is near of kin to him to uncover their nakedness. These are the written laws concerning fornication, concerning illicit sexual behavior. Who's giving them? Our judge, Yahuwah. It says, the nakedness of thy father or the nakedness of thy mother shalt thou not uncover, she is thy mother. Thou shalt not uncover her nakedness. The nakedness of thy father's wife shalt thou not uncover. It is thy father's nakedness. This is key to understanding the age-old mystery concerning Noah and his son Ham and his grandson Canaan. In which people say that that's why you have people of color now today, because of what Ham did, and he was cursed. Not so. But for Ham to see his father's nakedness just simply spoke to Ham sleeping with his father's wife. Now, as to whether or not his father's wife was his actual mother, we don't know. But we learn here that the nakedness of thy father's wife is thy father's nakedness. So for him to see his father's nakedness was for him to sleep with his father's wife. It wasn't because he seen his father naked. There's no shame or sin in a son seeing his father naked. Just as there's no shame or sin in a daughter seeing her mother naked. Now, verse 10 says, the nakedness of thy son's daughter, or thy daughter's daughter, even their nakedness thou shalt not uncover, for theirs is thine own nakedness. This is actually, your own progeny. It's a very wicked thing for you to go into your own progeny. You know, in verse 8 and verse 11, we see an aleph tav with a sheen in the midst. This is actually the word for wife. You know, this is what wife is translated from. Ishit. Now, the normal word for wife doesn't have to be spelled this way. You know, which I thought was interesting, because oftentimes wife is Isha, not Ishit. You know, but here we see it's Ishit. You know, actually making up the aleph and the tav with the sheen. You know, now this is just supposition on my part, but I believe that what Yah is depicting is that the wife is supposed to be the consumer of Yah's enemies upon the earth. You know, even as Israel was his wife, and he sent to consume all his those from the land of Canaan. And it speaks of them consuming them. You know, but that's just supposition on my part, which is, you know, take it for what it's worth. You know, that's not verifiable in scripture. But I did find it interesting all the same that they used a different word for the word wife, rather than Isha is she. Next reader, Leviticus 18:13 through 20.
Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy mother's sister, for she is thy mother's near kinsman. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy father's brother. Thou shalt not approach to his wife. She is thine aunt. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy daughter-in-law. She is thy son's wife. Thou shalt not uncover her nakedness. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy brother's wife. It is thy brother's nakedness. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of a woman and her daughter. Neither shalt thou take her son, daughter, or her daughter, to uncover her nakedness. For they are her near kinswoman. It is wickedness. Thou shalt not take a wife to her sister, to vex her, to uncover her nakedness, besides the other in her lifetime. Also, thou shalt not approach unto a woman to uncover her nakedness, as long as she is put apart for her uncleanness. Moreover, thou shalt not lie carnally with thy neighbor's wife, to defile thyself with her.
Okay. Verses 13 and 14. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy mother's sister or thy father's brothers. You know, don't be messing with no aunts or uncles. And verse 15, thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy daughter-in-law. That's your son's wife. Leave her alone. We see here we have wife again as the sheep with the vav at it. It means joint to, because she is joint to the family now. Now she is a part of the family. She's just like messing with your own daughter. Thou shalt not uncover her nakedness. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy brother's wife. It is thy brother's nakedness. So now we're talking about the brother's wife, and or you shouldn't mess. One shouldn't mess with a woman and her daughter. Neither shall thou take her son's daughter or her daughter's daughter. You know, Yah forbid. You know, mess with a woman and her grandchildren too, to uncover her nakedness, for they are her near kinswomen. It is wickedness. You know, and a lot of this stuff, you know, is kind of innate. You know, kind of innate. You know, it's just it's unnatural. Neither shalt thou take a wife to her sister. Now, this word wife is Isha. It's not Ishit. That's the word that's usually used to vex her, to uncover her nakedness beside the other in her lifetime. And the thing that I noticed is, you know, it's not one of the family's wives. It's just a thought. You know, and he's telling you, you know, don't follow through with that thought. You know, don't neither shalt thou take a wife to her sister. to vex her, to uncover her nakedness, besides the other in her lifetime. So don't do that. Now we have also, thou shalt not approach unto a woman to uncover her nakedness as long as she is put apart for her uncleanness. If she's put apart for her uncleanness, it's because she's unclean. If she's unclean, leave her alone. Wait till she become clean. Moreover, thou shalt not lie carnally with thy neighbor's wife, be sheet to defile thyself with her. You know, and of course, that was one of the 10 Commandments right there, right? Verse 21. And thou shalt not let any of thy seed pass through the fire to Molech. Neither shalt thou profane the name of thy Elohim. I am Yahuwah. Now this word and, not word and, but the word the is actually the Aleph Tav. It's translated as the in this instance. So, in other words, he's saying, and thou shalt not let any of thy seed pass through to Molech, neither shalt thou profane Yahshua's name of thy Elohim. I am Yahuwah. Now, what do they mean? What does the King James mean by having thy seed, and Yah mean by having the seed pass through the fire to Molech? Well, this is a picture of the pagan deity Molech. And this is one of the ways that he was depicted. And they would erect these brazen idols, if you would, and they would put a fire betwixt his feet with his arms outstretched, and as you can see, his hands are heating up. And the parents would come and they would place the child in the hands. And this would be the way that they would sacrifice unto Molech. When a couple sacrificed their firstborn, they believed that Molech would ensure financial prosperity for the family and future children. They would place their child upon the red-hot hands of the idol, and the surrounding musicians would play flutes and beat drums to drown out the cries of the children. What a horrific practice. Yah didn't play that, and he didn't want his children to be passed over to Molech for several reasons. Another way that they worship this deity, sometimes he was made like thus, and there are 7 compartments here. And each compartment will contain a different sacrifice, from a lamb to a goat to a bull or what have you. But the 7th, the most coveted spot, would be where they would put the child. And they would put the fire in the belly of this thing, and of course the heat would rise. Horrible, horrific practice. Leviticus 18:22 through 25. My next reader, please.
Thou shalt not lie with mankind as with womankind. It is an abomination. Neither shalt thou lie with any beast to defile thyself therewith. Neither shall any woman stand before a beast to lie down thereto. It is confusion. Defile not ye yourselves in any of these things. For in all these the nations are defiled, which I cast out before you, and the land is defiled. Therefore I do visit the iniquity upon it, and the land itself vomiteth out her inhabitants.
Okay, we have a couple of Aleph Tavs here. First, in verse 22, we have an Aleph Tav right off the rip, and it's accompanied with the Vav. And speaking of man working, man and his works before Yahshua shall not lie. Man that goes before Yahshua shall not lie with mankind as with womankind. It is an abomination. In other words, Yah does not play homosexuality. He does not tolerate homosexuality, fagism, fairyism, gayism, or any other isms. You know, he is against homosexuality, no matter how widely accepted it is now today. You know, it is not an alternative lifestyle.
Right.
It is an abomination. Call it
Period.
what it is.
Yeah.
Neither shalt thou lie with any beast to defile thyself therewith. I know that sounds far-fetched to a lot of folks nowadays, but you know, if they go to homosexuality, that's not a great jump, you know, after that. Neither shall any woman stand before a beast to lie down thereto. It is confusion. Truly it is. That word confusion literally means mixture. You know, you're not to mix races either. You know, animals are not to mix with humans. Dogs aren't to mix with cats. And oxen aren't mixed with sheep, so on and so forth. Defile not ye yourselves in any of these things. For in all these the nations are defiled, which I cast out before you. This is the whole reason that he's casting out those nations that they're going to destroy. Why are they being destroyed? For these very things. So make sure you don't defile yourselves, because that's how they got defiled, and that's why they're being evicted. He goes on to say, the land is defiled. Therefore I do visit the iniquity thereof upon it, and the land itself vomiteth out her inhabitants. And there's an Al-Tab in there. So speaking of vomiting out even Yahshua's inhabitants, because all people belong to Yah. Amen. He didn't just create some of them, he created all of them. Now, this is a real serious thing, especially when we consider, you know, our own land that we inhabit. Whereas now things such as what take place, such as verse 22, homosexuality being allowed, you know, it used to be something that was shunned in this country. Now it's something, you know, that being embraced. You know, we have states that's allowing gay marriages and things of that nature. These things are an abomination unto Yahuwah. You know, you even have churches that's embracing the idea, that's making exception for it. Now, how do you get there? I have no idea. When you have verses such as this and others that just straight up speak against it. You know, it's because Yahuwah is not their Elohim. He's not their judge. These are the reasons that the nations became defiled, and this is the reason that the land is spewing them out. What does it mean for the land to spew them out? To be honest, I have absolutely no idea. But I do have a thought. I do have some supposition concerning it. When we start seeing natural disasters, you know, that's a way of the land spewing the inhabitants out. You know, when we had that what was that tsunami wherever it hit, you know, the earthquake that hit Japan, that great earthquake back in the day that hit Mexico, and I mean, all these great natural disasters that's killing thousands upon thousands of people. Could that not be the land spewing them out? Just saying. Verses 26 through 30. Ye shall therefore keep my statutes and my judgments, and shall not commit any of these abominations, neither any of your own nation, nor any stranger that sojourneth among you, For all these abominations have the men of the land done, which were before you, and the land is defiled. The land spew not you out also when ye defile it, as it spewed out the nations that were before you. For whosoever shall commit any of these abominations, even the souls that commit them shall be cut off from among their people. Therefore ye shall keep my ordinance, that ye shall commit not any of these abominable customs which were committed before you, that ye defile not yourselves therein. I am Yahuwah, your judge, or Elohim. Okay, we have some aleph tav in here. First, the ye in verse 26 is actually translated from the aleph tav of the mem. The mem in the Hebrew represents water or things that flow. It can also represent souls or people, or even a nation. So the peoples of Yahshua, the peoples that flow from Yahshua, or the peoples of Yahshua, the nation of Yahshua, shall therefore keep Yahshua's statutes joined with Yahshua's judgments, that is, his sentences, his verdicts, and shall not commit any of these abominations, neither any of your own nation, nor any stranger that sojourneth among you. So even if you have people that's living within your midst, I'm going to say that again. So even if you have people that's living within your midst, you're not to allow them to go against Yah's statutes and his judgments. Verse 27, 4, and then you have an aleph tav here that's not even translated. It's just kind of hidden there. You'll never know it was there. For all of Yahshua's abominations have the men of the land done, which were before you, and the land is defiled. They done all this stuff. They done it all. The land spew not you out. This word you is translated from, you have an aleph tav with the kaf and the mem. The kaf, many of you remember, represents the filter. It's the open hand, and how you filter things out. So it's speaking of Yahshua's people that have been filtered out. Filtered out of what? Filtered out of the world. Then he take them out of Mitzrayim, separate them from all the nations of the world, put them in the wilderness, made them into a kingdom, a nation in which he ruled. See, this is what I want everybody to understand what's being done here. What's being done is Yah is establishing the kingdom of Elohim upon the earth. This is what he means when he says, I am Yahuwah, your judge. Live by my statutes, my written laws. Live by my judgments, my verdicts. He's saying, you're my kingdom. Don't go and follow the written laws of another kingdom that allow you to do all kind of abominations. Because many of these things were legalized and even was legal and even supported in the pagan nations. And he said, no. That's not for you. That's not for you. This is why they're getting evicted. This is why the land is spewing them out. This is why I'm about to have you consume them. Because of these things. You're not to do likewise. No, you're to live in accordance to my written laws and in accordance to my verdicts and sentences. He's establishing his kingdom upon the earth. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Repent, for the kingdom of Elohim is at hand. Yes. It should. Verse 29, for whosoever shall commit any of these abominations, even the souls that commit them shall be cut off from among their people. Now, I ain't finished with 28. The land spew not, Yahshua spilled the people out also when ye defile, and then you have another it says defile it. This word it is translated from the Aleph Tav with the hay. So in other words, when you defile Yahshua's grace, the hay represents the window. Speaks to light, speaks to grace. As it is spewed out, and then you have another Aleph Tav of Yahshua's nations that were before you. You know, so in other words, y'all saying, don't get it twisted. Don't think that, you know, that you're special. If I done it to them, I'll do it to you. Verse 30, therefore shall ye keep Aleph Tav mine ordinances. Therefore shall ye keep Yahshua's ordinances, his written law, that is his commands, his teachings and commandments, in which there is no less than 100, no less than. That ye commit not any of these abominable customs which were committed before you, that ye defile not yourselves therein. I am Yahuwah, your Elohim, your judge, and he will judge us.
Yes.
The Messiah came as a judge. Well, he will judge. Yah is the judge. We're waiting after everything is said and done. We're going to have what? The great white judgment. He's going to sit upon his throne and he's going to judge his people. Well, that's all that I have for you today. I pray it was a blessing unto you.
Hallelujah.
Yeah.